The CEO sat quietly in their large office, looking out of the tall glass windows. The city buzzed below, full of people rushing to work, shops opening, and cars moving fast. The CEO's company owned many sandwich shops across the country, and it was very successful. Every day, thousands of customers came to their stores for fresh sandwiches and quick meals. But even with all this success, the CEO felt something was missing. For a long time, the CEO had heard from managers and reports about how things were going in the stores. They saw numbers about sales, profits, and customer feedback. But the CEO wanted to know more. They wanted to understand what the workers felt, what their days were like, and what problems they faced. Sometimes they thought the reports only showed part of the story. To really know, the CEO needed to see and feel the work for themselves. One evening, after a long day filled with meetings, the CEO made an unusual decision. They would work in one of the sandwich shops. Not as the boss or the owner, but as a regular employee. The CEO wanted to go undercover. They planned to put on a uniform, learn the work, and see what it was like behind the counter. This was not an easy choice. The CEO knew it would be hard work and that no one in the company knew about this plan. But they believed it was important. The next day, the CEO visited a busy sandwich shop in the city. They wore simple clothes and a cap to hide their face. The manager at the shop greeted the new employee warmly, but didn't know this was the CEO. The CEO felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. They would have to learn the tasks quickly and not make mistakes. It was their chance to see the real world of sandwich making. At first, the CEO watched the other employees closely. They noticed how fast they moved, how carefully they prepared each sandwich, and how they smiled even when the store was crowded. The CEO was surprised by how many steps there were to making a single sandwich. From slicing the bread to choosing fresh vegetables, adding meat and cheese, and finally wrapping it all up. Took skill and speed. The CEO started helping with simple tasks. They cleaned the counters, arranged the ingredients, and learned to use the machines that sliced meat and toasted bread. It was harder than they expected. The hands had to move quickly and accurately. If a mistake was made, the sandwich might not taste good, or the customer might have to wait longer. The CEO realized that every second counted during the lunch rush. As the day went on, the CEO talked quietly with some employees during breaks. They listened to their stories about work, their hopes, and their worries. Many employees talked about the pressure of handling many orders at once and trying to keep customers happy. Some mentioned how the equipment sometimes didn't work well, which made their job even harder. The CEO felt a new respect for these workers. It was clear that the employees were dedicated and worked very hard. The CEO also noticed how the employees helped each other. When one person was busy or had a problem, others quickly stepped in to assist. There was a sense of teamwork and care among the staff. This made the CEO feel a bit more at home. It was very different from the quiet office upstairs. Here, there was energy and life everywhere. By the end of the day, the CEO's hands were tired and their feet sore, but they were happy. They had learned so much and saw the company in a new light. They understood that the success of the business depended on these hardworking people who often went unnoticed. The CEO decided they needed to do more to support their employees and improve their working conditions. That night, when the CEO returned to their office, they thought deeply about what they had seen. They knew they could not keep their experience a secret for long. The next step was to find ways to share what they had learned with the company leaders and make positive changes. The Undercover day was just the beginning of a bigger journey. The CEO's first day working at the sandwich station had given them a glimpse of the fast, busy world behind the counter. But as the next days went by, they began to understand just how tough the job really was. The CEO worked many hours, often. During the busiest times when the store was full of hungry customers, they learned that working at a sandwich station was not as easy as it looked. Every morning, the employees arrived early to prepare the store for the day. The CEO was there with them, tying an apron and putting on a cap. The store had to be clean and ready before the doors opened. Every piece of equipment needed to be checked. Every ingredient had to be fresh and arranged in order. This was important because once the customers came in, Everything had to happen quickly. When the store opened, the rush started right away. Customers came in one after another, some in groups, some alone, all with different orders. Some wanted classic sandwiches, while others asked for special combinations. The CEO watched as the employees listened carefully to each order, repeated it back to be sure, and then got to work making the food just right. The CEO felt their heart beat faster. As they tried to keep up, they had to slice vegetables quickly, place meats and cheeses with care, and wrap the sandwiches perfectly. It was not just about speed, but also about doing everything correctly. If one sandwich was made wrong, it could upset the customer. The CEO felt the pressure grow with every order. The noise in the store was constant, the buzz of the machines, the chatter of customers, the ringing of the cash register, and the quick footsteps of employees moving around. Sometimes the CEO found it hard to focus, but they noticed how the regular workers stayed calm and collected. They seemed to know exactly what to do, almost like a well-practiced team. The CEO also saw how important teamwork was. When one employee got busy with a long order, others came to help. If someone needed a break, another took their place without being asked. The workers talked to each other quietly to make sure everything ran smoothly. This cooperation was like the hidden engine that kept the store moving, but it was not always easy. The CEO noticed moments of stress too. When the lunch crowd was especially large, the workers moved faster and their faces showed tension. Sometimes, customers became impatient and raised their voices. The CEO saw that the employees had to keep smiling and stay polite no matter what. It was clear that the job needed patience and a strong mind. One day, the CEO experienced a problem that the workers often mentioned. A machine that was important for the sandwich preparation stopped working. The bread slicer, which made meat. Slices of bread suddenly jammed. The employees tried to fix it, but the problem was not simple. Without the slicer, making sandwiches took longer and became harder. The CEO watched as the staff adapted quickly. Some employees used knives carefully to slice bread by hand, but it was slower and more tiring. The manager tried to call for repair, but help would take some time to arrive. The whole team felt the extra pressure, but they kept working hard. During this time, the CEO thought about how equipment problems affected the work. When machines broke down, the workers had to find ways to keep the service going. It made the job more difficult, and sometimes caused mistakes or delays. The CEO realized that reliable equipment was very important for the store to run well. As days passed, the CEO learned more about the small details of the work. They discovered how much care was needed to keep the food fresh and safe. The employees washed their hands often, cleaned the counters regularly, and made sure the ingredients were stored correctly. Hygiene was very important to protect customers and maintain the company's good reputation. The CEO also noticed how much the employees cared about the customers. Even though the job was hard, the workers smiled and tried to make each person feel welcome. Some customers came back regularly and knew the staff by name. The employees made an effort to remember their favorites and greet them warmly. This simple kindness made a big difference. During slow times, the CEO had a chance to talk more with the employees. They heard stories about why people worked at the sandwich shop. Some were students saving money for their education. Others were parents supporting their families. Many talked about their dreams and hopes for the future. The CEO was touched by their honesty and dedication, but the CEO also heard about the challenges. Some workers shared how the job could be exhausting, especially when shifts were long and breaks were short. Others mentioned how hard it was when customers were rude or demanding. The CEO understood that behind the smiles, the employees sometimes felt tired and stressed. One important thing the CEO learned was how the company's rules affected the workers. There were strict policies about time, behavior, and equipment use. If an employee made a mistake or broke a rule, there could be serious consequences. The CEO heard about cases where employees were fined or warned for accidents or problems beyond their control. This made the CEO think deeply. He wondered if the rules were fair and if the workers were supported enough. The CEO knew that the people at the sandwich station did their best every day, often in difficult conditions. It seemed to the CEO that the company needed to balance discipline with understanding and kindness. Despite the challenges, the CEO admired the strength and spirit of the employees. They saw how much pride the workers took in their job, even when it was tough. The CEO realized that this pride was a key reason the sandwich chain had become successful. It was not just about the food, but about the people who made it and served it. By the end of these days, working undercover, the CEO felt a new connection to the company and its staff. The experience changed the way they thought about leadership and responsibility. The CEO knew that to make the business better, they had to listen to the workers' voices and create a workplace where everyone felt valued and respected. The CEO's journey at the sandwich station was more than just a visit. It was a lesson in humility, patience, and teamwork. It showed that behind every successful business are people working hard, facing challenges, and hoping to be understood. The CEO was ready to take these lessons back to the company's top offices and make real changes. The days passed quickly as the CEO continued working quietly behind the counter, learning more about the busy world of sandwich making. Each day brought new experiences, new challenges, and new chances to understand the people who worked hard to keep the store running smoothly. But one afternoon, something happened that changed the CEO's view in a way they had not expected. It was a busy day like many others. The store was full of customers coming in for lunch, and the employees were moving fast, making sandwiches and taking orders. The CEO was helping at the sandwich station, carefully putting together orders and trying not to slow down the line. Everyone was focused and working as a team. But there was a quiet tension in the air because the lunch rush was heavier than usual. Suddenly, the equipment that was used to prepare the sandwiches began to act up. It was a machine used for mixing ingredients and spreading sauces evenly on the bread. This machine was important because it saved time and helped keep the sandwiches consistent. But today, the machine started to make strange noises and then stopped working completely. The employees quickly noticed the problem. They tried to fix it themselves, pressing buttons, checking the power, and even unplugging and plugging the machine. Back in, but nothing worked. The machine was broken, and the lunch line slowed down. The CEO watched carefully, feeling the pressure growing. The employees looked worried, knowing that the broken machine meant they had to work harder and faster. To keep up, one of the younger employees, a kind and hardworking person, stepped forward to try to help more. In the rush to keep orders moving, they carefully tried to move the machine to a safer place so it wouldn't block the counter or cause trouble. But as they moved it, the machine slipped and fell to the floor, causing some damage to its parts. It was an accident, a mistake made in a stressful moment when everyone was trying their best. The room went quiet for a moment. The employees looked at the broken machine and then at the young worker who had accidentally dropped it. The employee's face showed worry and embarrassment. They knew this was a serious problem. The manager came over quickly and looked at the damage. The mood became tense. The CEO watched all this unfold with a heavy heart. They had never imagined how a small accident like this could cause so much stress and trouble. The manager spoke quietly with the employee, explaining that the company had rules about broken equipment. According to the policy, when equipment was damaged due to employee error, the worker had to pay a fine to cover the cost of repair or replacement. The employee listened carefully, but looked very upset. The fine was a lot of money for someone who earned only a small wage. The employee was afraid of how this would affect their income and their family. The other workers looked uncomfortable too. They knew the young employee had not meant to break the machine. It was an accident and a difficult moment. The CEO felt a strong wave of emotion. They wanted to speak up but knew they had to stay undercover. For now, inside, they were shocked and saddened by how harsh the rules seemed for people who worked so hard every day. It felt unfair to punish someone for an accident that happened while trying to do a good job. As the day went on, the employees adjusted again. They worked harder without the machine, doing everything by hand. The CEO helped as much as possible, but they could see the strain on everyone's faces. The broken machine was more than just a tool. It was a part of their daily work, and without it, things were much harder. The CEO thought about how this accident showed the difficulties workers faced. Every day, employees had to do their best in a fast environment, and sometimes things went wrong. But instead of support, the company's rules added extra worry and fear. The CEO understood that this could affect morale and trust between workers and management. Later, after the shift ended, the CEO finally revealed who they were to the store manager and some employees. They explained why they had gone undercover to learn about the real work and challenges. When the story of the broken machine and the fine came up, the CEO said how deeply it had affected them. The CEO promised to look closely at the rules, make sure that employees were treated fairly, especially in cases of honest mistakes. Wanted to create a work environment where people felt safe to do their best without fear of harsh penalties for accidents. The CEO also said they would work on improving equipment, maintenance, and training, so machines would break less often and workers would feel more confident. The employees felt relieved and hopeful. They appreciated that the CEO cared enough to listen and understand their struggles. This moment became a turning point in the company's culture, showing that even small actions could lead to positive changes. Through this experience, the CEO learned an important lesson. Leadership was not just about profits or rules, but about caring for the people who made the business succeed. The story of the broken machine and the fine was more than an incident. It was a symbol of the need for kindness, fairness, and respect in the workplace. After the undercover workday ended, the CEO sat alone in a quiet room, thinking deeply about everything they had seen and experienced. The day at the sandwich station had opened their eyes in many ways. They remembered the busy rush hours, the fast-moving employees, the teamwork, and the difficult moments. But what stayed most in the CEO's mind was the incident with the broken machine and the fine that the young employee had to pay. The CEO felt a strong mix of emotions. There was sadness for the employee who had worked so hard but was now punished. For an accident, there was frustration because the rules made to keep the company running well seemed too harsh in this case. And there was a new understanding of how important it was to support the employees, who were the heart of the business. The CEO thought back to the moment when they saw the employee's worried face. It was clear the person had not meant to break the equipment. The accident happened because the work was fast and sometimes stressful. The fine made the employee's situation even harder. It was a reminder that rules, while necessary, could sometimes hurt the very people they were supposed to protect. The CEO asked themselves many questions. Were the company's policies fair to the workers? Did the rules take into account the real challenges of the job? Could there be a better way to handle accidents that did not punish employees too severely? These questions stayed in the CEO's mind as they planned what to do next. To better understand, the CEO spent more time talking with employees. They listened carefully to their experiences and feelings. Many workers spoke honestly about how they wanted to do a good job, but felt nervous about making mistakes. The fear of fines or warnings made some employees anxious, and this sometimes affected their work and happiness. Some employees explained that accidents and small problems were part of any fast job, especially when equipment was old or not working. Well, they hoped the company could be kinder and more patient, helping workers learn from mistakes instead of punishing them right away. The CEO realized that trust and respect between workers and management were very important. At the same time, the CEO knew the company had to be responsible. Equipment cost money, and mistakes could affect the quality of the sandwiches and the experience of the customers. It was a balance that needed to be found between protecting the company's interests and supporting the employees. The CEO thought about the role of leadership. Good leaders listen to their teams and work to create a positive environment. The CEO believed it was their job to lead with kindness and fairness, to create a place where people felt safe to do their best and grow. With these thoughts, the CEO began planning changes. The first step was to meet with the senior leadership, the people who made the company's policies. The CEO wanted to share what they had learned from working undercover and from listening to employees. They prepared to explain why the current rules might need improvement and how better support could benefit everyone. When the meeting took place, the CEO spoke clearly and honestly. They described the busy sandwich station and the hard work of the employees. They told the story of the broken machine and the employee who was fined. The CEO asked the leaders to consider how the rules affected workers and the company culture. Some leaders listened carefully, while others were unsure at first, but the CEO encouraged an open discussion, showing how small changes could improve employee morale and reduce mistakes. They suggested reviewing the policy on fines, adding more training for employees, and investing in better equipment maintenance. The CEO also proposed a new approach to accidents, one that focused on learning and improvement rather than punishment. For example, if an accident happened because of unclear instructions or old equipment, the company would help fix those problems first. If an employee made a serious mistake without trying their best, there could still be consequences, but with support and guidance, the conversation lasted for hours. But by the end, the leaders agreed to review the policies carefully. They understood that happy and supported employees would work better and help the company grow in a healthy way. The CEO felt hopeful. He knew this was just the beginning of change, but it was an important step. He also planned to keep visiting the stores regularly, not just as a visitor, but to stay connected with the workers and hear their stories. After the meeting, the CEO took some time to write a letter to all the employees. In the letter, they thanked everyone for their hard work and honesty. The CEO promised to work on making the company a better place for all. They shared that leadership was listening and ready to support the team. The letter made many employees feel valued and respected. Some shared their thanks and hopes for the future. The CEO's actions showed that real care came from understanding and being willing to change. As weeks went by, the CEO saw small but important improvements. Training sessions were organized to help employees feel more confident with the machines and their tasks. The company started fixing old equipment more quickly to avoid breakdowns. The policy on fines was softened, with more chances to explain and learn before any penalty. The CEO also noticed changes in the workers. They seemed more relaxed and happier, and teamwork improved even more. The workplace felt friendlier and more supportive, and customers noticed the difference too, reflecting on the experience. The CEO realized that leadership was not about control or punishment. It was about respect, trust, and understanding the real life of the people who made the company strong. The story of the broken machine was a lesson that stayed with the CEO, reminding them to lead with kindness and fairness every day. The CEO felt proud of the journey, but knew there was always more to do. They continued to visit stores, listen to employees, and work with the leadership team to create a positive future. The company was not just a business, it was a community, and every person mattered. After the CEO's undercover experience and the important conversations with the leadership team, a new chapter began for the company. The CEO was determined to make real and lasting changes that would help the employees feel more respected, supported, and valued. This was not just about fixing one problem, it was about creating a better workplace for everyone. The first step was to share what they had learned with the entire company. The CEO organized meetings and visits to different sandwich shops across the country. Each time, they talked openly with employees, managers, and staff. They wanted to hear their thoughts, answer questions, and explain the new plans for improvement. This openness made many workers feel hopeful, being more connected to the company's leadership. One of the biggest changes was the review and adjustment of the company's policies about equipment and employee fines. Instead of immediately fining employees for accidents, the company introduced a system that looked carefully at what happened before making decisions. If the problem was caused by faulty equipment or unclear instructions, the company took responsibility to fix those issues. If a mistake was truly the employee's fault, the company focused on helping them learn and improve rather than punishing right away. This new approach helped build trust. Employees no longer felt they were working under constant fear of unfair penalties. They felt safer to ask for help and to speak up if they noticed problems. The CEO believed this trust would lead to better work and happier employees. The company also invested in better training programs. The CEO made sure that every employee had access to clear instructions, demonstrations, and practice sessions for their tasks. This training helped workers feel more confident using the machines and handling difficult situations. It also reduced the number of accidents and mistakes. Another important change was improving the equipment itself. The company put more effort into regular maintenance and timely repairs. Old machines were replaced with newer models that were easier and safer to use. The CEO understood that good tools made a big difference in the quality of work and the experience of employees. The CEO continued to visit stores regularly, sometimes even working alongside employees during busy times. These visits were not just to check on work, but to listen and learn. The CEO made it clear that the company valued every person's voice. This created a culture where feedback was welcomed and encouraged. The employees noticed the changes and felt the difference. Many shared stories of how the new support helped them do their jobs better and feel more appreciated. Some said they were more excited to come to work and be part of the team. The teamwork and morale improved, and the store became a friendlier, more positive place for both workers and customers. The CEO also worked with managers to develop better ways to recognize and reward good work. Small rewards, thank you notes, and team celebrations became common. These gestures showed employees that their hard work was noticed and valued. The CEO believed that motivation came from respect and kindness. It's not just rules and control. As these changes took hold, the company's reputation grew stronger. Customers saw happy employees and good service, which made them want to return again. And again, the CEO realized that caring for employees was also caring for the business itself. Looking back, the CEO was proud of what had been accomplished, but knew that improvement was an ongoing journey. They understood that the success of a company came from the people who worked there every day. The CEO made a promise to keep listening, learning, and making the company a place where everyone could succeed and feel respected. This story of the Undercover CEO showed how one person's choice to understand the real life of their employees could lead to important changes. It was a reminder that true leadership means walking beside the people you serve, not just directing from above. Working together with respect and care, the company and its employees built a stronger, kinder future.